Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to America once again. We're going to return to the state of Massachusetts and have a taste of a beer from a brewery that I've never tried anything from, so very curious to see how this one turns out. So for this one we are going to go to Everett in Massachusetts, which is a little bit to the north of the city of Boston, and we're having a taste of my first beer from Night Shift Brewing, and this one is their Santilli IPA, which comes in at 6% ABV. I'm not sure if this will be a New England IPA or if it will be more of a kind of West Coast IPA, but when we open up I'm sure we will find out from the taste. So very curious to see how this beer turns out. Thank you again to my parents for bringing this one back from America when they were over there. They always bring me a couple of beers from random breweries, which is pretty cool. It's always cool to try different things from America, of course, because there's all these crazy different laws between different states about taking beer over the state limits and stuff like this. It's one of these strange things that you'd think that would be controlled at federal level, but no, all the individual states have their own dry counties and all of these kind of things. So yeah, we'll see how we get on with this one, but certainly very curious to see how it turns out, and I hope you guys enjoy my take on this one. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I'll hopefully be able to do in the future from Night Shift Brewing. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, like I said. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the American beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Night Shift Brewing then, on to my brewery notes. So Night Shift Brewing were founded back in 2012 by three friends, Michael Oxton, Rob Burns and Mike O'Mara. So the three had been flatmates, or roommates as the Americans would call them, I guess, and they'd homebrewed together for a number of years while each working different jobs. It said on the website that they'd been homebrewing together for around 5 years. But quite often they worked their day jobs and then brewed at night, so they decided to call themselves Night Shift Brewing. They were always giving their families some of their beers to try, and everyone kept demanding more and more of this, so they eventually decided that they were going to go commercial. They drew up a business plan, got a little bit of capital together, and eventually just went for it. They started building their brewery up in late 2011 and then eventually opened it in early 2012. But the brewery was originally based in Everett in Massachusetts, and they only had a very, very small brewery first off that was 3,000 square feet, but within 2 years they'd moved to a facility that was 30,000 square feet, and that is their main headquarters today. In 2016 they also created their own distribution company. This distributes different beers for around 20 different breweries at the moment, and they do have plans for a second brewery and taproom in Boston, which is at the Lovejoy Wharf, and apparently this one will be equipped with a 10-barrel brewing system as well, and they do hope to kind of up their production and things like that. Apparently this new taproom that they're going to have will be very swanky and suave and all of this kind of thing, so very curious to see how that goes for them. But as I say, it's very cool to have another beer from the Boston area. I've not tried too many beers from the Boston area. I have reviewed a couple of Trillium beers for you on the channel, which is of course from Massachusetts, but it's cool to have something a little bit different. So yeah, we'll see how we get on with this one. But that was all I was able to really find on the brewery at the moment. If you want to learn a little bit more, of course, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and that will keep you up to date with all the latest goings on there. But yeah, let's get on to the tasting of this beer then. So like I said, this one is a 6% IPA. I suspect it will be a New England IPA because of where it's from, but I might well be wrong on that. But this beer is named, it was first brewed in 2015, and it's named after the Santilli Highway, which is where these guys are based, basically. The Santilli Highway is the road that these guys, that their main headquarters is based on. So yeah, and I do like their symbol as well, this nice little owl that's there. I think that's very, very cool. So yeah, you can see that there, really, really nicely presented. But yeah, nice kind of, it's one of these kind of New England style cans. A lot of these New England IPAs have the, pardon me, still recovering from this cough. And of course beer will help me, as I say. Doctor might not agree, but I don't care. But yeah, nicely presented can, this one, nice and white, nice little hop flowers in there. This beer, of course, won the Bronze Award at the 2016 Beer World Cup as well, so it must be a pretty solid one. But yeah, very curious to see how this turns out. 6% IPA, so let's see how we get on. And it says this one is brewed and canned under special arrangement in Pawtucket in Rhode Island. So yeah, let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Ooh, that looks really nice actually. Still not sure whether this will be a West Coast or a New England IPA. We'll see. Yeah, so yeah, as you can see with this one, it's poured. Now this is a hazy IPA, definitely held it up to the light and you can see straight away, hazy IPA. But yeah, you can see nice, bright, orangey golden colour there, solid, just under a finger of a frothy, I would say cream coloured head on this one. It's not quite perfect white, definitely a sort of nice creamy head. You can smell some lovely oranges coming out of this beer already as you open up, I would suspect. I think there's a bit of Amarillo in there, to be honest with you. But yeah, really nice smelling beer, this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of the head there. But you know, nothing overly surprising in terms of an IPA from its appearance, this one. It definitely looks the part. As you can see, if I put my fingers behind the glass there, it does have a degree of transparency, but you are definitely getting some of that New England haze about this beer. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Oh, that smells really nice. Nice big orangey, orangey fruits on this one. A little bit of a pine resin in there as well. I do wonder, maybe there's a little bit of Chinook or something crazy like that in here, because it's definitely got a bit of that dank kind of piney resin. The other thing I guess that could be in there would be a little bit of Columbus or something like that. Columbus has this very distinctive, almost spicy floral aromaticity. They could well use the Columbus as the bittering hop, which quite a lot of breweries do, and then they'll put something like Amarillo, you know, Centennial or whatever on top of that. But this one to me it's big on the orangey notes. There is a little touch of like tropical fruit in there as well. Maybe a little touch of grapefruit or pineapples or something like that. I think there's something in there other than Amarillo as well, but I've just got a gut instinct that there's a bit of Amarillo in there, and it's a hop that I really love, but it's been used a bit less and less these days. A lot of people are when it comes to the orangey flavours, a lot of people are going for the Mosaic, which will give you the more kind of tangerine oranges and blueberries. So it's not all that common to come across an Amarillo beer these days, which is a bit disappointing. I always used to love that hop. I love the big orangey IPAs, so I've got a feeling this one is going to suit me down to the ground, but definitely smells really nice on the hoppy side of things. Nice little bit of floral kind of spiciness, like I said, a little bit of a piney resin in there, some lighter grassy notes, juicy oranges, and a little bit of a grapefruity tropical note to this beer as well. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you're smelling this one. The malt base, yeah, you can get a little bit of biscuit out of this one, a little bit of pale malt. I can't really smell if there's any kind of oaty sort of creamy notes to it, to be honest. Mainly it smells sort of bready, pale malty, and a little bit of you know, it smells a little bit more like a kind of straight. The malt base in this one to me smells a little bit more like something that's in between a West Coast and a New England IPA. It's not obvious towards which style it's going to kind of diverge from the aroma, but as I always say, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But we're going to have a taste of this one now. So this one is the Santilli IPA, coming in at 6% ABV from Night Shift Brewing in Everett in Massachusetts. Thank you again to my parents for bringing me this beer over to Sweden when they were over in America. But let's get stuck into this now. Slanja, skål. Ooh, that's interesting. It's got a good spicy kick to it, this beer. Yeah, definitely. The hops are giving it this nice kind of spicy edge. Does it say when it was canned? Yeah, this beer was canned on the 25th of September 2018, so yeah, it's interesting that. It is still, I mean, I did have to wait a little bit for my parents to bring it, of course, and you can tell it's not quite at its freshest, but it's still really kind of nice and drinkable. But yeah, I like how this one is coming across. So let's just try and break this down a little bit. It's interesting. It definitely has a little bit of that kind of hazy sort of New Englandy IPA quality to it as well. But I'm also picking up one or two little bits of an almost West Coast-ish quality to this one as well. It's definitely got a little bit more sweetness compared to some of the other New England IPAs I've had, as opposed to, you know, the creaminess that you'd normally expect from them. So an interesting beer, but I'll say straight away, thumbs up to Night Shift Brewing for this one. Let's try and break it down a little bit. So for me, you can feel that nice pale malty quality, that just blankets the middle of your tongue. On top of that, there's a little bit of a slightly thicker white bready quality in there. I'm not sure if there's a little bit of an oaty creaminess. Yeah, maybe a tiny little bit, but I don't think too much. The further into the aftertaste you go, the sweeter I'm finding the malt base in this beer's becoming. Definitely has a good little bit of sweetness in the malt base there. It's got a very slightly caramelly note right in the middle of the palate, but there's also a little bit of a kind of biscuity note the further out from the very centre of your palate that you go. It's really interesting how that just combines. It's got a little touch of the sweetness that you'd expect from the West Coast IPAs, but at the same time it does have a little bit of that smoothness, but not quite the creaminess that you would expect from the New England IPAs. But very solid beer, there's no doubt in my mind about that. But yeah, this is a really good beer. For me, you know, I might be a little bit biased for this one because I love these big orangey IPAs, but for me, it's really nice. It's almost a little bit like I mean, if it's 2016, it's a long time in the beer world. It's only 2 years, right enough, but still, beer styles and hops and things like that change all the time. To me, this is like a little bit of a kind of nostalgia beer in some sense, because it's a little bit, it doesn't quite have the same level of complexity, if you like, as some of the other ones. It is like going back 2 or 3 years and just drinking a really solid IPA like that, and I love doing that on the channel. I love it when you get these beers that really just remind you of you know, of different times and things. The dog's going a little bit crazy, but yeah, I really like how this one comes across. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, there's a little touch of earthiness there. As you come further forward along the sides of your palate, that earthiness just smooths out a little bit, then it becomes a little bit more spicy and floral towards the front kind of corners of your palate. There is a little bit of a piney resin character underneath that, but personally I think it's a little bit more of a kind of spicy floral aromaticity. Yeah. I do wonder if there could be a little bit of Chinook in here or something. I always like playing guess the hops with these beers when I don't know exactly what's in them. There was something really telling me there was Amarillo in the start of this beer, but then there's something also telling me there's a little touch of Chinook or Columbus in here, just because of the spiciness that this one has, but it also has a little bit of pine resin as well. But this, to me, it is one of these beers, you can't really call this an old school IPA right enough, but to me it's just like stepping back a few years and having something that's really good, but just a little bit simpler than you might get today. And that's, you know, I love that when it comes to these beers. Great job to Night Shift Brewing on this one. Around the very front curve of your palate, of course, it's got a little bit of this lighter, kind of grassy side of things, but then it has a little bit of that kind of spicy floral aromaticity just kind of sitting there too. But when you go behind the front curve of the palate, of course, that's where you get that oily bubble, where those juicy, fruity esters start to come out of the beer. You can just feel that right behind the front of your tongue. For me, like I was saying, there's definitely a bit of orange to this one. Yeah, lovely big juicy orange flavour to this beer. I think there's maybe a little tiny touch. The further into the aftertaste you go, that juicy oily orange just kind of lingers there and it becomes a little bit sweeter. At the same time, you can feel there's a little touch of grapefruit just pushing its way out, I think, and that makes me wonder if there is Chinook in there, because the two telltale signs of Chinook, of course, are a sort of piney resin, spicy floral aromatic kind of thing, almost a dankness, and then also a little bit of that kind of grapefruity note. But yeah, it's a really nice beer, this one. I like how everything goes together in this, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. So as I said, you know, big thumbs up to Night Shift Brewing for this one. I'd love to try a couple of their other things, especially like this one. To me, in terms of its character, it's somewhere a little bit between the West Coast IPA and the New England IPA. It's got a little bit of that sweetness to the malt base that you'd want from the West Coast IPA, but it's almost just got a little bit more of the smoothness, the malt basey smoothness, not quite the creaminess that you would expect of the New England IPAs. So yeah, it's an interesting one, this. I really like what they've done with this, and I like, this seems to be a beer that's becoming a little bit more popular now. Instead of just being either New England or West Coast, they do seem to be kind of changing the IPA a little bit into something that's kind of in the middle of those, and for me, that's what I would say about this beer. Albeit this one, you know, it was first brewed in 2015. It was brewed under a different name, actually. I forget what the first name for this beer was, but yeah, it's really nicely done, that. So if you get the chance to try it, have a go at it for yourself and see what you think, especially if you like Mosaic, Mandarina Bavaria, Pacifica from New Zealand's another orangey hop. If you like these big orangey hops, this is an IPA that you are really going to enjoy. So yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, mid-bodied beer, carbonation's very smooth. Overall it's quite an oily mouthfeel, this one. Good little bit of hoppy bitterness. I would guess it's somewhere around the 60-ish, maybe 70 IBUs. That big pine resin is really lingering into the aftertaste there. That really makes me wonder if it's Chinook that they've got in this one. But yeah, nice juicy fruity quality to the beer as well, and a good balance in the malt base between the more smooth bready notes and also some of the slightly sweeter caramelly biscuity sort of things. But yeah, another very solid IPA. It is cool to kind of step back in time a little bit and go to almost simpler times, if you like, but a really good, this one has what you would want both from a New England IPA and from a West Coast IPA, although not the, as I said earlier, not the creaminess of the New England IPAs. But for me, really nice beer, and I'm glad that I got to try this, and it's always cool to try things from different parts of America as well. There's a ridiculous number of breweries over there these days, so it's just cool to try things from different areas. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. So yeah, this was the Santilli IPA, 6% ABV from Night Shift Brewing Company in Everett in Massachusetts. A really nice beer, especially for those of you that will like the kind of orangey IPAs. Thank you again to my parents for giving me this beer. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Night Shift Brewing. Do check out my social media as well, and I will catch you guys very soon. Make sure you try this one, the Santilli IPA from Night Shift Brewing in Everett in Massachusetts. Until the next time, it's landed just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. Skål.